Hello, and welcome again, ladies and gentlemen. We got another episode of Lead, Laugh, Love incoming. If you're new around here, what we've set up is an improv talk show on life, love, leadership, all the important stuff we were never taught in school. We discuss it here with no script. The way this is set up is I'm about to drop a topic on these guys, and one of them is going to be the host of the show. And essentially what is set up is a completely improvised talk show. So we'll set up Ravi Rajani as the host today, and the rest of the guys we have in the room here are a very diverse crew. We got public speakers, we got PhD doctors, we got video masters, and all of them have utilized communication in creative ways. So that's what we're going to tap into today, is the entire spectrum of communication, from your body language to your text posts to your videos, all of the above. And yeah, that's about all I can do on this end. So as soon as the other end of this intro pops up, you'll see some brilliant gentlemen here, and we'll hop straight into the conversation. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Lead, Laugh, Love.
What you gonna do, baby?
Wait, JP's gone. After his 24 hours on LinkedIn, he's gone. Where is he?
He's sleeping, dude. He's sleeping.
So, for anybody curious, JP's typically supposed to be at this spot right here, but I'm just going to fill this awkward empty corner here so that we don't have an annoying OCD setup. But Ravi Rajani is the host of our show today about communication. Take it away, brother.
I love how you say my name, Ravi Rajani. Ravi
Rajani.
You make me sound French. It sounds beautiful. So let's hit up the comments. Who we got here? We got Pedro saying, this is awesome. Really digging the background. Keep crushing it. Luke Williams says, I'm seeing every comment twice. That's because there's that much hype, Luke. But he says, anyone else getting that? Or maybe it's a glitch. I don't know, brother. I'm not sure. Maybe Trav can check that. Who else we got? We got Dominic Ruffman. What's up, bro? What's up, my man? Greg Evans says, ready to enjoy another show. Yes, you are. We got Kelly Blackman, certified success coach in the building, who says, first time catching the show, Trav. Glad I made it. I'm glad you made it too, man. So listen, ladies and gents, we are missing the Tarzan of LinkedIn. And as a result, we've got the Moby of LinkedIn. You know who Moby is, right? Come on. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, geez.
Good one.
No, I thought that was very good. So today's episode is all about how to use communication to reshape and rebuild your business and brand. In a time like this, it's super important, right? We've got speaking, we've got speaking on stages, speaking on video. Hold on. Oh my God.
He looks like a zombie.
Hey.
Is it JP or is it a hologram? Who knows?
No, it's me. Can you guys hear me? I've been having mic issues.
I can hear you, man.
Yeah, no, your mic's good.
All right, cool.
So before we continue, I think what everybody probably wants to know is how long did you sleep for after your 24-hour stint on LinkedIn Live?
5 hours.
What?
Yeah, and then I went straight into and then I had to edit the video and everything. So I've slept 5 hours since the 24-hour thing.
You sound tired, bro.
You sound like this, man.
Dude, that's the LinkedIn grind. This is the real life stuff. So yeah.
I mean, hey, it was fun, right? I hosted you, I think, probably a couple of hours in. I think Brian hosted you at some point as well, right? And it was you guys. I mean, fair play to you guys, man. That is Guinness World Book of Records stuff. So anyway, ladies and gents, let's kick it off with a quick question for Trav said there was a guy with a PhD in here. I don't know who that is. So let's just go with the doctor in the group.
Must be in the audience.
You must be in the audience. I mean, Brian, you never talk about being a doctor, having a PhD, so it can't be you. But let's start with you, right? So, Mr. Brian Harman, let's talk about, as a leader in the workplace, when it comes to effective communication, what do you find that your clients struggle with most? Is it sitting behind the desk and creating that email? Or is it speaking in front of their entire team and getting their message across? Is it, what is it? What do they struggle with the most, man?
Two things. One is a little bit broad. It's the clarity of their message. And the Gandhi of LinkedIn and I have talked a lot about clarity when it comes to being seen as someone who does X, Y, and Z. So I like to be silly, but also credible. And I like to have this educational vibe to everything that I do. I think that's the big thing on the whole strategic piece, is not having clarity and just kind of like, you never know what to expect from people because it's all over the map. So that's one thing. The second thing is a mechanical thing is filler words. I cannot stand how bad executives are with the whole you knows and ums and huh. And so like, it's disgusting that you can get to a position of leadership and not have to go through some type of perpetual communication training that can get you to stop doing that.
So let me ask you this then, because I let's talk about the ums and ahs shortly. But what I want to talk to you about now is okay, now let's say an individual is put into a leadership position. Okay, they haven't had the communication and speaking training. How do you think they best communicate to their leader that I need support? Because you've got ego here, which is saying, man, I can't look like I'm struggling. I'm new into this role. How do you showcase vulnerability as well as showcase you're somebody who can handle that role if you need help with communication as a first-time leader?
You got to just talk straight. You have to own up to the things that you're weak at, the things that you're strong at. I can say with certainty that there's some things that I'm weak at and some things I'm strong at.
Yeah,
that's on my level of competence. I can't be fully competent at every single thing in business. There's too much in it. There's no way one can master everything. So we're all going to have those places of ups and downs. Having the self-awareness to take action on that is one of the signs of a leader. So there's no shame in calling out your weaknesses and asking for help.
I love that, man. You definitely hit a good point, which is just owning up about, where you need some support. And guys, Brian mentioned right now about his weaknesses. If you click the link in the comments, I've actually created a PDF, a 5-page PDF going through all his weaknesses. You can get an idea of how.
5 pages covered it all, or?
It's a short ebook, $5.99. You get an idea of Brian. Anyway,
it's in size 9 font. It's really small font, so we were able to get it all in 5 pages.
That's right.
Anyway, I digress. So let's Alex.
Always a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Ravi.
I love you. Anyway, so Abs. I nearly called you Jonathan. Abs. So in your former life, you were running a sales team. Now, speaking and communication is super important, as Brian said, when it comes to leadership, but also clarity of message. So let's walk through now. Let's look at a different form. Let's talk about when you're prospecting and you're using text. You're not using, for example, speaking. You're using text as your weapon of communication. Give the audience 1 or 2 tips that you used to implement, or you still implement now, when it comes to using text effectively to convert your prospects into paying customers.
Yeah, I don't know a ton about text these days because I never use text.
Gotcha.
I pushed against text, but I did use it, and I did use emails and that kind of stuff. And I think it goes back to no matter what kind of message or the medium, you have to be relatable. It has to be specific. It has to be personalized, and it has to be geared towards that one person. And it's got to be something of interest, something of valuable, something of value to them. Otherwise, it's not going to hit home. So, in your subject line of your email, in the first couple lines of your text post or text DM, or even if it's a video DM or an audio DM, it has to be something that's going to let people know that, hey, I'm not here to sell you right off the bat. This isn't a pitch show. I'm not a automated bot coming in and trying to, lay some 3-paragraph thing down and you try to book a call. I'm here to talk to you as a human being. And if it makes sense, let's have a conversation. If it doesn't, that's okay too. So that's how I laid out.
I like it, man. And I was at a conference a little while ago and they spoke about the subject lines. And when you're writing emails, they spoke about the most effective subject line for them.
Put their name in the subject line.
Well, actually, it was 3-word subject lines.
Yeah.
Those were the most likely to get opened. And little things like inside of your email, hi wasn't good, but hey was, and not using bullet points, like really interesting things. So JP, aka the Tarzan, aka the Fabio, aka
the Iron Man of LinkedIn Live.
I'm just glad. Brian, can you be in the room? He's on the comments saying, "I'm just glad I got to meet the Gandhi of LinkedIn." Right? You know what? Where's the policy of Let's get this guy kicked out. Ronan's janitor is laughing. I've got you, Ronan. Jamal says, "Great points by Dr. Brian." Are you drunk? None of us are that in the sense that we don't have some weaknesses in communicating our message to an audience. I like it. Dominic Ruffin says, "I'm literally laughing out loud at Brian for half the show." I mean, sorry, laughing out loud for half the show. Got you. So back to you, my friend. So when it comes to communicating on video content, now, what is the number one thing that you see people doing incorrectly? And I'm not talking about people who are at the beginning of their journey. I'm talking seasoned content creators. What do they do incorrectly in the CTAs of trying to communicate to convert, but they do it ineffectively? What is the number one thing you see them doing wrong?
So specifically with their calls to action.
Specifically CTAs here.
That's a great question. How many people can actually, like, I've always been really curious about calls to action and their actual effectiveness. I mean, I feel like if there's ever been a time where, like, I really want to reach out to somebody, very, very few times has it been because of a call to action that's actually taken me from the point of like, okay, I hear the call to action and it actually makes me do something about it. Typically it's the fact that like I like the person, I've built a relationship with them, through their content, like obviously it's more of a one-sided relationship, but and then I'll want to reach out to them on my own. So, like I to be honest, I kind of question the effectiveness of a call to action to the point that I don't use them anymore. I just don't. They're not in my content at all. And I even took out my outro because I felt like it was a little bit too self-serving. And I feel like I've gotten more leads because of it. Wow. I removed all of that. And it's basically like, listen, especially on LinkedIn, it's a business networking platform. It's about community. It's about building relationships. If people like what I'm doing, they're going to reach out to me, by themselves. And I'll answer their questions. And then if they want something more personalized, then, there's the option as well. But I don't even use them anymore.
So that's interesting. So I would say what you've just spoken about there, your approach is actually by not actually having a specific call to action, you're giving off the perception that, well, not even giving off the perception, you are teaching because you want to add value. And as a result, the right people will be attracted to your energy who wish to work with you. Am I right?
So
right.
Raj, but here's what JP does at the end too. And that's something that I use. We talked about this ironically right before the show, is that every video, you don't need to say, and now go go comment and what are your thoughts on this? And what do you think? Like, you don't need to do that in every single video. I definitely do not do that in most of my videos. But what you have to do, and what JP does at the end of his videos too, is you got to make people feel something, right? You got to close the story. You got to bring everything full circle. You have to elicit some type of emotional response. So you can't just end it out of nowhere or end it at an anticlimactic. You gotta bring it really to a place where people are like, oh, that was amazing, or oh, I gotta come back for more. Or, that was I didn't expect that. Something at the end that's gonna elicit emotion and emotional type drivers are what more drive people to take action. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. You know, you could straight up ask, you could drop it in the comments. That works super effectively. Or it's just about creating some type of ending where you think about Netflix. Like I just punched myself in the face in my string. Think about Netflix, right?
Yeah.
We don't, at the end of Netflix, a really good show, they don't go, and now click on the next. I mean, they drop it there. They say next episode, of course, because they kind of have to there. But no one pops up and says, and now if you like this episode, go ahead and drop your comment in our live stream or click on the next episode 7. They just leave you wanting to see more. And so that's the key when you think about your content. Sometimes your call to action is the end of your message.
But see, something you said is super interesting there. So if you're watching Netflix, if you've got to the end, it will say 6 seconds until the next episode. So they've already opted you in. Now it's more effort for you to opt out. Interesting, man. Really
right. Which, if we could do that with our videos, we would opt the fucking everyone to the next video on the next day, right? Just to automatically slide to the next one, and so it's top of your feed. We would do that too.
Got you.
And that's a big thing about it. Like LinkedIn is by far the worst platform for any of that. It's like it is so hard to discover your content or connect the pieces because none of it is it's not like in order. There's not one centralized location to find it easy. It's like, what are they doing?
You just muted yourself.
What?
He probably
he got so pissed off. He's like, I'm not even talking about this.
Knocked the cord off the bottom.
But I think to his point, it's not set up, and you got to think about LinkedIn. They came out with videos 2 years ago. But to his point, if you go on Instagram or some of the other platforms, there's an archive. Like you can clearly go through your videos. YouTube, like they haven't quite, and hopefully they do it, but they haven't quite set it up to where it's a video platform and it's easy to navigate.
I'm with you, man. I also think that's a part of the beauty of it, though, because it is so old school in the way that it operates. It means look at the amount of growth that there is to be had. And as we'll talk about, it's exciting to see that. So let's break up the show a little bit here right now. And Brian, I've got a question for you. Actually, before I ask you that question, yes, a cow has licked my head. And that is for the quiff. So thank you so much. Point 2 is Brian Harman. If you had to pick 3 people on LinkedIn, like, comment, block, who would they be? Okay, so
you know who the block's gonna be.
So
this is actually a pretty easy question.
Well, I know where you're gonna go with this, but wait for it. So like is that, you know what? I'm down. Comment is that I'm in love. Block is like, get out of here. I never want to see your content again. And please don't be predictable. Because I know what you're going to say. Block Ravi Rajani.
Block Ravi. Good question. I'll answer it. So I do really, I like Luke Matthews' content a lot. I wish that he would do more video, which he's getting into. I love Jonathan's content. The videos, I watch every single one to the end. He's the only person I do that with. I like both of you guys. You guys both do great content as well, Ravi and Alex. I think though on the block thing, it's mostly companies. I think that it's a shame that companies forget where they came from. Why don't we all know the Nike origin story? Why don't we all know what Tesla stands for, Coca-Cola stands for? There's a couple other good examples. Is like Nike's about victory. Nike is actually the name of the Greek goddess of victory. Or if you think of other big companies like that, they get so far away. Those are the ones I block because it's like, yeah, I get all this stuff that you're doing is trying to use LinkedIn ads on this new golden age of LinkedIn advertising and whatever. But I still I feel they've left their original message so far behind that I don't even know who they are anymore. So those, I would say I block that. I hate the overproduced company content.
See, I think you mentioned something there which is super important. So there's a dude called Pat Quinn, a speaking coach, and he mentioned something very interesting in the world of storytelling. And he says, what you should think about is whether you're a business or a brand, you've got to be in the first few minutes or in the first part of your presentation is you've got to show that you're super and human to complete the superhuman formula. And what he says is super is the Tai Lopez, hey, look at my Lamborghini or Ferrari, right? And it's inspirational, but how much of the time does that really connect with people, right? And actually, the things that really relate to people are the day-to-day stories to show that you're human. That builds the connection. If you're too super all the time, nobody can connect because there's no vulnerability. If you're too human, it's like, this person's just like me. Maybe I should be speaking and they should be in the audience. So think about that when you're a business or you're an individual building a brand. That, I suppose, superhuman, I wouldn't call it a formula, but way of thinking are two sides of the same coin. And like Brian said, if you can't really explain your story in a compelling way, people just feel that, hey, we are so grateful to, you know that style of communication, which is straight out the corporate handbook. It's like, let's take off the corporate mask and let's be us. Let's throw it in the bin. So,
So I have a question really quick because I want everybody's perspective on this, if you don't mind, Ravi.
I do.
You know, talking about like these big brands that kind of like lose their identity. How about influencers that start to lose their identity? Like you definitely, I guess when you get kind of more on our side and you start, you know, scaling and getting a little bit bigger and you've got a little bit more of a following, you start managing more virtual assistants and you start losing touch with your audience. You know, now your virtual assistants are answering your comments for you. And, you know, now you're trying to scale. So you're kind of like spreading yourself a little bit thin and you start, you know, losing sight of what this was all about in the beginning. You start, you know, going more to like a salesy side and maybe you're more motivated by money. Maybe you're tired of creating content. You know, like, is it just me, or now that we're doing this more, do you start noticing that like a lot of these influencers, their legs stop touching the ground? And do you think that it matters in the long run that maybe they're not as present?
Yeah, I think it does.
I do think it matters. I mean, the thing that I believe is you should always have those 2 or 3 things that you know you stand for that never leave. Yes. So Jonathan, I see yours is being value add, pushing boundaries, and then a little bit colorful. Your videos, it's not so much colorful, but it's easy to identify. Damn, this is a John Palmer video. Ooh, high value. If I watch this to the end, I'm walking away with something, and I feel stupid because I'm creating an outro, and you're just like, outros suck.
No, bro. Yeah, but it's like I don't use tags or hashtags just because like I just like testing things. I'd still, yeah, people should still use outros. They look cool, you know. So,
but I think
the outros.
we do need to remain constant, whether you're scaling and you're using VAs or not. If you're diluting your 2 or 3 core values, that's different than scaling effectively.
See, the interesting thing here is, okay, let's take this to another realm. Say you're scaling your brand. Now you have 2 choices. You can only choose these 2 choices. You either have a VA respond to every single comment, or you can only respond to a certain amount of comment every single hour. Which one do you go for? Do you go for the, right, I'm going to respond to a handful of people as much as I can, or do you go for the scale and say, I'm going to respond to everybody, but it's through a VA? Which one would you say is more effective for scaling a brand? Abs, hit us.
I think you go with the time. I think you set a time limit on it. If you're going to, like, I think that you have to respond. I think if you start having somebody else or something else respond, it's going to dilute your presence and your connection with the audience. I also understand that some people get thousands of comments. And so it's like, well, how do you scale that, Alex? Well, you can't necessarily reply to every single comment, but what you do is you set a timetable on it where you say, hey, the first hour and a half, whatever it is, I'm going to respond. After that, I just can't spend my entire life on LinkedIn or Instagram or wherever, so I'm not going to do it. But at least you know, as the audience, it does 2 things. One, it incentivizes people to follow and stay closely connected with your post and you, because they want to jump on there and they want to talk to you, right? And they know they got to do that within the first hour or 2. So I think it's very beneficial from an engagement standpoint. Probably it drives engagement for that reason. But 2, they know that every time that they say something and it's you that responds or your profile, they know it's actually you. And I think there's something just really genuine about that I would never want to lose that aspect of it. Like if I comment on something, it's me. If I don't have time to comment on it, sorry. If you commented on something that I posted last week and I didn't get around to it, my bad. You know, but I also got a business to run and family to look after. And so it is what it is. I'll do my best, especially the same day, 24 hours. I'm pretty good about responding to everything. But if past that, like that's my time limit, but that's where I'm at. I'm not getting thousands of comments. So obviously that the timeline changes, but I think the realness for me has to stay there.
Yeah. Like Backstage View, about 2 weeks ago, I fired my virtual assistant because what I started to realize that they were doing was they were opening all of my messages, but not responding to them, just looking for the potential sales,
Right.
And that's what starts to happen. Like, nobody is going to be as invested in your brand as you, So, everybody's going to be motivated by different things. And especially if you start getting to the point that you're receiving, 100+ messages a day, they know that you have no ability to check all of their work, right? So they take advantage of that. And they think that, they also don't know your values or your motivations. They don't know what's important to you, let alone trying to speak on your behalf to all of these people, right? So, yeah, I literally had to fire them. And I went with the belief that, you know what, if I don't get to all of these messages, man, there is nothing worse than you sending a message, you taking the time to spill your heart out. And then you see that this guy that speaks about empathy and connection and community opens your message and then doesn't even respond to it. That's terrible, And I didn't even know about it. So to me, it's that really turned me off when it comes to virtual assistants for, a long while. I don't know if I'll ever go back to it after I saw what was going on there. But it was really disappointing, really changed my perspective.
Well, and that also, all that stuff, guys, goes back to your brand. It goes back to what you believe in. What do you stand for? Kind of what Dr. Brian Harman said earlier is that's why those pillars are so important. That's why the first thing I teach is figure out who you are, what you stand for, what does your content represent, what does your business represent, and everything, every decision that you make is dependent on that. Right. So then once you do figure out something's wrong, you eliminate it. 'Cause you're hey, either yay or nay. Does this align with my values and my belief system? If it does, perfect. Let's do it. If it doesn't, then I got to scrap it. So again, most people just start posting. Most companies, they want to generate money. Everyone thinks money, 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 which there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is you're not thinking about, hey, does this align with me as a person, as our brand, and where we want to go? And I think that's what everyone needs to think about. Go back to the roots. Where did you come from? What do you believe in?
I love
Brian,
it, man.
did you just drop your link? Did you just turn our show into a pod?
Brian keeps telling everybody I'm his VA. And now I've got this other dude called Brian saying I've been trying to get Ravi as my VA for years. Oh, yeah. Brian, I fire you as my...
No, John, that link is our new 90s intro that I think everyone would love to see. It really, dude, that thing cracks me up for days.
It cracks you up, but it makes me cry. We're just
I feel it really gets me. It hits me in the feels, man. It hits me in the feels.
Hard.
Guys, I mean, look, for those who are interested, Brian, as some of you may know, he's a dentist, and one of the things he's working on as an October offer in light of Halloween is teeth whitening. So, Brian, I suppose this is the good segue into the commercial, and, I'll give you the opportunity now to pitch your teeth whitening services. Brian, would you like to take one? Go on, go for it.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm speechless.
The opportunity is big. I know. Just go.
I even took out my retainer just for this segment. See, I got my Invisaligns.
He's a dentist, people. I'm telling you, over and over again. He's a fraud, guys. He's a fraud.
Mm-hmm.
But a dentist is a legit doctor, though. Do you not think that? I mean, even if he was.
No, I'm not a dentist. I don't like. I wouldn't do that kind of work.
Don't lie.
I'm not good at it either.
You're the dude that loses his tooth in the movie The Hangover. The dentist who keeps saying he's a doctor. That's you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they go paging Dr. Faggot. Yeah. That's from the movie. That's a quote.
It was a PH. It was a PH, guys. It was with a PH. Chill.
Apologies.
We're good.
That was offended by that comment. As we look through the comments, Miranda says, plus, it is really hard to have a connection when the comment is great video or thanks. You can tell it's just not genuine. So I just...
You know what I've started noticing? It's blowing my mind. I'm starting to notice people that I'm not in pods with, full disclosure. I'm not in a pod with them, but I'm starting to get pod comments from people I'm not in a pod with. And I'm wondering if there's this new service where it's they can auto set so that when somebody posts a new post that they want to get the intention of, it like leaves a comment on their content. Am I going crazy, or is that a thing?
Or it's just laziness. Who knows? Laziness. But especially
Dude,
on a bigger influencer, that's the time to actually leave an insightful comment.
I do think, going on that topic of communication, one thing that's very interesting to now bring up is the misalignment between what you say and how you behave. Because that's one thing sometimes I feel guilty about, which is, I want to get to the DMs sometimes, but I can't. It's like sometimes you physically don't have the capacity, right?
Thanks, Luke. It's a thing.
It's a thing. Is that misalignment? It's a thing. What's he talking about? Oh, it's a thing.
It's a great, great, well-timed comment.
It's a thing. It's a thing. Miranda says, no matter how big I get, I will never have a VA. Interesting.
I think a VA could work in certain capacities, just not,
Okay, fine. What is a good example of when a VA would work well? Because I haven't been able to figure it out myself.
I don't know. I don't use one. I'm just saying there's probably things that somebody could do for you. Like maybe
there's a lot of things the VA could do.
I agree.
It's not the VA. It's certain activities that the VA probably shouldn't be doing. Is the thing. But I know Miranda. We're on the same page. We know what you're talking about.
I'm with you. So I'm with you. So Travis says it's all about mindful delegation. You're right. Brian May says, I agree with what John says, but how do you balance without a VA as things grow bigger than you can handle? Well,
hire.
So actually, here's what's interesting. Okay, hire a VA who is like 100% lower, 90% lower in terms of cost, or hire somebody full time who you can eventually scale with, who you can ultimately indoctrinate into the values of your brand. Which one is it? Which one is it to scale in an authentic way? Let us know, people, in the comments. Get involved. What would you do for the short term, okay? Would you take that burn of having spend money to hire somebody who you can eventually indoctrinate into your brand? Or do you hire a VA who can do it at a low cost just to get the job done? Let us know in the comments. Let us know. So, Brian, back to you, my friend. You're very quiet all of a sudden. What's happened? You okay?
Yeah, no, the VAs, I think, serve a really, really magnificent purpose. So I just hired someone full time, but before I could afford that, I had a team of VAs that were doing 5 times the amount of work that a full-time person could do at the same cost. So when you get to each tipping point, there's always going to be a place in between where I hire 1 full-time person to 2 full-time people to 3 full-time people. It's not that easy to just say, like, hire someone. Like, dude, this is as much as it is.
I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying if you're complaining about not getting work done and stuff, then it's like hire somebody. Like,
yeah. No, like I think we're saying the same thing. I'm glad that I got to the point that I could hire someone full time. I'll be honest. I have used 5 or 6 different VAs over the last few months, and it's not easy to train people that are in different countries that they have to look through my pages and pages of examples. It takes weeks to get them up to speed, and then you try to have them implemented into your system, and it's like, this ain't working out. Now I got to train the next person for 3 weeks and the next person. But eventually you can get to a place where, okay, they're handling all the stuff that I really shouldn't be handling. Like if someone sends you a connection request and says, hey, nice to meet you. Well, my VA can archive those types of messages if it's really just something that I shouldn't be touching. There are some tasks that really should be handed off.
As Kevin,
I just feel like so often it's like a wonder ball. Like you don't know what you're going to get inside, So it's like you kind of like have to open the message up to see like what could potentially be within. And that's like where, at least like that's one place where I see like it could be challenging, But I almost want to get like a little pool boy to just like live with me, and hang out and just like open my messages and read it to me, like read the message one hand and then like put a grape in my mouth with the other. And then like that seems to be the ideal. So Brian, is that kind of like the direction you're considering taking the employee you just hired, or how does it differ?
So the VAs that I work with do a whole handful of different things. The person I just hired in particular is going to be doing editing and making sure my videos get onto other platforms like YouTube, Vimeo, Instagram, making sure my stories aren't just bullshit of me and my dog all the time. Like that's the kind of stuff where I need more professionalism in my videos. I want to be more of an authority in like the actual quality. And this is, again, something that I've learned from you, Jonathan, is post less, higher quality. And that's where I'm going in the long term. So this full-time person is not responding to my comments. And I still spend a good amount of hours every week doing that myself, but I do have some help. Like I'm not the one that's doing a lot of the outreach. I'm handling my own posts. And even still I write, hey, thanks for the comment. Because dude, I just can't keep up. And the 100 DMs, I feel terrible when I have someone that sends me a text message saying, yeah, did you get that LinkedIn message I sent you? And then I'm scrolling down in there for like a day and it's like, crap, that was from yesterday. And there's like hundreds of messages in there. I just can't keep up. So I need help.
Which is a great point. Like I was called out for being a bot myself. Like I was really tired yesterday. And I just like, for all of the people that made a comment about the 24-hour live, I just put a heart and the person's name. I tagged them. And like, of course, Luke Matthews, that was like right in the mix with me, was like, hey, John, stop having your bot answer all your comments for you. And I was like, dude, I'm just tired, man. Like, I just don't want to write like a paragraph saying thanks for having me, you know? And now it's to the point where it's like people are so disillusioned by this whole thing that even when you're not trying to sound like a bot, people still think you're a bot, you know, just because you keep things short. So, yeah, weird time we're living in.
I think two things. Like one, people got to be empathetic. It's like, dude, you know, we're all trying to run businesses. You have no clue what's going on in someone's life. So like, you know, just understand that your comment and your one DM isn't that the whole world doesn't revolve around that. So it's like people need to understand that, right? And the second thing is we need to not be so hard on ourselves. Like I used to crush myself for not getting back or not having the greatest comeback or comment back to somebody. And now I'm like, look, if I can do it, I can do it. But I got a lot of things going on. I'm going to try my best. Like, that's where we got to be. You just can't crush yourself. You can't be so hard on yourself that you're like, oh, I feel terrible. It's like, dude, we're probably doing the best that we can. Right. So just keep it real with people. If you can get to them, get to them. If you can't, you can't. Like, that's what the best piece of advice that I give people. Just don't be so hard on yourself. We're just one person.
Hey, gents, on that topic that Mr. ABS is talking about, let's see who wants to jump in. Okay, who wants to jump in from the comments? Live, okay, who wants to come on down and talk about VAs, talk about comments, talk about authenticity of how to brand yourself? Because Brian mentioned something interesting, right? Do you go for the selfie style using your phone, or do you go for the professionalized video? And over time, as you evolve, your content should as well, right? Or should it? Who knows? Brian, what would you say? Should it or should it not? Because there's a reason why you're evolving, right? Into that new style, less is more, versus videos of you, test, check out the mic or whatever it was. That
oh my God, that was my favorite ever. That was the greatest ever.
Check out
my mic.
Yeah.
Oh, it was great.
The reason I'm doing that, Ravi, is because I took a really sort of easy way out in my content to say, hey, I'll just record all these conversations and I'll have content for the year. Yeah. Now I've created about 20 of these scripts that are really, really powerful stuff that's going to help. Yeah, it's really going to help the people with the things that I want to help them with. And so if I'm going to do that, I want to up the quality in my videos. So there'll still be interviews, but there's not going to be every video of an interview right. 4 months in a row like I have been. Yeah. I'm going to do some really powerful lessons, just like John does, just like both of you guys, all three of you guys do. And then it'll be supplemented with some interview style stuff as well.
Perfect, dude. Scripted and unscripted. That's the way to go.
And tell me this. So I've recently started going live a lot more, and I've noticed people see a completely different side of you. They enjoy it, right? They enjoy the real-time communication. They enjoy potentially the mess-ups of what could happen, what could go wrong. So it's a great tool. When we're talking about communication, there is speaking, but you could be speaking on video. You could be speaking on stage. You could be speaking live, right? There is using audio. So figuring out what is your weapon of choice is actually just done through experimentation. You know, Brian was initially doing videos through communicating through interviews and allowing other people to find the golden nuggets. Now he's going back in the frame. He's getting back in the frame. Lock up every LinkedIn influencer because Brian.Harman is back. He's back in the game. So,
which I need to ask a question about that. Do you guys feel like there is a direct correlation between the amount of effort you put into your content and the amount of engagement that you receive? Because I remember like back in the day, man, like Victor Mayorga, like he put out like some really nicely edited videos. And for a long time, I thought to myself, okay, I'm not going to take it to that level because I didn't feel like he got the engagement that he deserved. But I do feel like the more I've started to put into the content, the better it's performing. So I still feel a little bit conflicted about it. You never know if it's the message that's carrying it, which that always has to be there, but is a better edited video or, you know, like a more comprehensive process, you know, is it going to perform better? You know, so
it's got to be the message. That's a great question. It's got to be the message and, you know, and how it looks and feels. Because I think with Victor, I love Victor. That's my guy, and he can do some beautiful things with the editing and stuff. But he's not a marketer, right? So some of his videos, if you gave him feedback, it's like it's not the most marketable video, right? And you probably see that now thinking about that. It's like great, beautiful things he can do. But he's not. It wasn't a marketable LinkedIn video, so that's why it didn't perform super well. Yours are well edited and they're marketable, right? So that's the combo.
Got it.
Toby, what's up?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got a special guest incoming.
Well, let's bring him in today.
This man has been all over he's been supporting the show since the start.
It's Jamal.
So glad to bring him in. Jamal Marshall is in the building, ladies and gentlemen.
Get him in, baby. What's up, Jamal?
Hi, Jamal.
How y'all doing? Pretty good.
I'm great, man. How are you?
What's up, man?
Just had me a nice little rosé, so I'm just playing. No.
I was gonna say, damn.
Sorry.
Not even 1 o'clock yet.
What's up, man? Listen, tell us. You've got a couple of minutes here live with the Lead, Laugh, Love crew, man. You know, you've been on LinkedIn probably around 6-7 months now, if I'm not mistaken, right? 6-7 months.
About the right time. Yeah.
So tell me what you would say is the number one thing which has helped you build your brand during a time like this when it comes to speaking and communication, because your videos are out in nature. They're selfie stuff. And that's what's really worked for you, right? So let me actually ask you this. Have you ever thought about creating quality, quote unquote, video content rather, which is you're hiring somebody, they're going to edit it up, then you're going to put it out, or actually, is this more authentic for you?
It's a little bit of both. I've thought about definitely, you know, doing the videos that can floss my teeth and, you know, grit between my toes, all that stuff. And I'm just like, okay, do you really want to go there or do you want to keep it simple? It works for me because I'm out in nature, but my message, you know, being from a counseling and psychology background, I'm speaking to the heart. We're going from the mind into the heart. And that's why I get the engagement, because people are like, oh, ish, I feel like that too. You know, so it's a ton of comments. Like sometimes people will comment and not even like the video because it's speaking to right where they are. And it's a minute and a half. You know, videos that are about 3 or 4 minutes, I can hang with those. 5 minutes, you lose me. You know, so I try to say a lot in a very short time and pinpoint. And it just happens to work. I just happen to be out in nature because where I live at, they're always doing construction. So gentrification. Sorry.
So man, this is interesting, right? So when I say high quality, I meant production quality. But what you're saying here is your message is what you're going to be focused on, period. And it goes back to what Doc Brian said, which is that clearly is one of your values, isn't it? Sharing your message in an authentic way. You and I have kicked it for half an hour where it's clear that is one of your core values. So regardless, it sounds as though whether it's high production quality, low production quality, one thing you can't compromise on is your message. Now, tell me, you don't have to name any names, okay? But for those who are, for example, compromising their message on LinkedIn that you once followed, who you no longer anymore, what was it about them that you no longer follow when it comes to their message? Why did it change?
I would say, I mean, granted, we're in a pandemic, so people don't have maybe the same technologies or access to what they had or the audience or the cameraman that they may have had before. But I would say the way that they engage. And to Jonathan's point, you can't get everybody. I mean, like, granted, I have like under 6,000 followers, but I still get a lot of engagement. And even I drop the ball at times. And so those who have that same message of influencer, they don't do the same thing they tell you you're going to do. And I don't take it to heart because I've realized that it is what it is. But a lot of times you realize they're just staying in there to keep up with the algorithm. that it may not even be them. So it's just like when I see their post, I'm like, okay, great quote. You just dropped a quote on LinkedIn just to stay with the rhythm, but it's not really anything to you. And it's just like 1,000 likes for like one BS quote. I'm like, okay, nice. So I just kind of stopped engaging with it because it's like, one, I still work a full-time job. I don't have time for this, you know?
Yeah.
And so they kind of betrayed who they said they were. It's like you were an influencer, but who are you influencing? You're actually feeding yourself. And so you lose credibility for that. And, you know, for me, that's huge.
Like, oh, you're like when I hear you, I'm like, oh, he's so eloquent, articulate, beautiful. You're like a poet, bro. You're like a poet.
I don't know if you guys feel this, but I feel like there's almost like teams forming on LinkedIn. There's like this team of people that like are all about like authenticity, no pods, like, you know, like super like legit, you know, very like steadfast in that. And then you kind of have like a gray area where they're kind of like they're okay with pods, they're okay with everybody, you know. And then you have another that it's like you have like the totally unself-aware, oblivious, you know, just like shooting shit at the wall people, you know?
Yes.
And but you see teams that are starting to develop and they're all starting to group together, and it's really cool. You know, it's really cool to see this dynamic. But I'm wondering when like the civil war is gonna happen, when people actually start taking shots at each other. I'm actually really excited.
It's already
about it, 'cause I
begun.
know
You
it's
guys-
coming soon.
You guys started
for it.
talking pods, and Adam Posner popped up like
That he reminded
ready
me of
for
that.
the SmackDown.
Adam
But we are
Posner
running out of
reminded me of
time.
that.
We are
See,
running out of
I'm gonna
time.
connect with you,
quickly,
Adam.
guys.
So,
I
Jen,
gotta pull Miranda in.
we got
Later, guys.
Miranda. We got 60 seconds. Jamal,
Thank
much
you,
love,
Jamal.
brother.
See, brother.
We got 60 seconds with Miranda.
Miranda Ramirez in the
morning.
house.
Hey, morning. Miranda, you got 60 seconds on the clock. Name one thing, your pet peeve, okay? When it comes to people communicating on LinkedIn, what is your number one pet peeve which makes you want to click block? Hit us.
Great video.
Okay. Great video, yeah?
Yeah, just I don't know, unmeaningful comments. Like someone put their time and effort into creating a video or creating whatever content, and you're just gonna come over like, great video, like it's not worth your time, like you're too busy for everything else. And I'm like, okay, come on, you they're like, oh well, we don't know what you do. And I'm like, people put a call to action, answer the call to action, watch the video, pull anything out of it. That's how you get through college. Like just pull something out of it, bullshit it in a paper and move on. And oh, can I say that on here? Sorry. Okay. You know, I'm kidding. I didn't do that. But my point is just saying great video after someone put all that time and effort into creating that content. Like, I just don't think that's right.
Well, listen, my friend, I appreciate you. We are running out of time here on Lead,
Okay.
Love. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 10. Moby, take us out with the outro music, brother. Moby, come on. One more.
Well, there it is again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. We never have any idea how these are going to go when we start. JP wasn't even in the room today when we started, but it was so brilliant. Amazing to see some of you guys break out of the comments and into the show. That's one of my favorite parts here. Thanks so much for joining us. It's been a blast. Hope to catch you next time on Lead, Laugh, Love for episode 10 next week at the same time. You guys take care.